Welcome, everybody. It's James Leichter, and this is another Aptora training session for our sister company, RA Tax and Accounting. Thanks for being here, you guys, and also for Aptora. As I've mentioned in prior videos, we do this training every week, and we have decided to make these recordings available to our users. And I'm going to get right into it today. We're going to be talking about a little known feature. Let's clean up my desktop here a little bit. Clean it out. Get rid of that. No, I didn't want that opened. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about a little known feature, but a great feature in Total Office Manager, and that is the Asset Manager. Now, some software programs have an Asset Manager, but if they don't have accounting built in, they really aren't getting the most out of the Asset Manager. This is a list of your company's assets. I would put almost anything in this feature, in this system, almost anything. Anything that's, say, $300 or more, or anything that's of value to your company, which could be inexpensive, but it's valuable. It's important that you track it. One thing for sure that you want to do is put in your vehicles. Let's open one up and have a look at it. There's an option for pop-up notes. Here's a vehicle. Now, I won't get into this field by field because I want to focus on one particular thing in this form, and that is the mileage meter feature. Notice the asset type is set to vehicles. The asset type is hard-coded. That comes from the IRS asset list, with the exception of we added cellular device for technical reasons. But here, if you switch to vehicles, you'll notice on the additional tab, we have a new pane that pops up. Now, you won't see this unless it's a vehicle. This gives you the chance to enter odometer values, date, time. The entered by will be automatic. Now, one thing you want to do is be sure the include in bills and checks is checked right here. And then when you go to spend money, so for example, we will enter a credit card charge, and if you don't use this feature, you're really missing out. Credit card charges. Let's pick one of our credit cards, American Express, purchase from. Let's go to Phillips 66. The software will ask me if I want to repeat the last transaction, make a copy of it. Yes, why not? It was gas and oil, $44.22, but not this time. This time, it was $41.33 or whatever. Now, I can associate that with a job, a department, but here's what I wanted to show you. We can associate that with that vehicle, truck 1. Let's change our reference number. Let's change the date. Let's say we were entering something in from a while ago. Save and close. Now, what the software did, it finds my date choice a little odd, by the way. That's okay. What we did is we added an expense to this vehicle, this asset. And if we go to the asset list and go to asset history, we will notice that those expenses are being tracked. So we can see all the various expenses, gasoline, even the check you wrote to buy it. So we bought it for $43,000 way back when. If you look up here, you can see year-to-date cost of ownership, $85. So we have a lot of gas receipts we haven't entered apparently, but those could be also maintenance, oil change, repaired the radiator, rotated the tires, transmission fluid change, new tires, you name it. Total cost of ownership, that's the vehicle price plus all the maintenance. Year-to-date miles, total miles. So we can show you that it costs 57 cents a mile to own this vehicle. That's great information to know. Many times you'll go to a seminar and they go through a whole worksheet on figuring out your break even, and part of the worksheet is trying to figure out how much your vehicle costs. You can skip all that. You know exactly what it cost. Now, one way to get the mileage in here, as I mentioned, is in this pane right here. So we have some catching up to do. Let's go to the odometer tab, and you'll notice that we bought the vehicle at 101,000 miles, and we never put any vehicle mileage in since. We wish we would have. Well, you can play catch up if you'd like. This pane right here, this box right here, shows you mileage that's been entered by hand. Only by hand. You notice that there's a source. Enter direct, timesheet, enter direct. This is your enter direct list, and you can add to it. So you bought it with 101 miles, and let's say that you happen to know that on such and such a date, and maybe it was 02/02/2017, it had 303 miles. And then maybe you got up to 44/52 on such and such a date. And I'll go 05/09/2017, and we'll click OK. Hit refresh. And now we're starting to fill in the blanks. And as you start adding vehicle expense receipts, maybe you go back in time. I would at least go back this year and start adding those. You'll begin to see the total cost per mile update and become more and more accurate. So the asset manager has the ability to not only track your assets, but track all their expenses. It can also track income, because you can make these assets available for lease or rental, and they can show up on your invoice. And there's a video on that, so I won't go into it, but I wanted to remind everybody of that. Let's go back to the asset. I noticed when I went in here, these user-defined fields looked wrong. So we have a vehicle, but it says breaker panel, labor warranty. I don't really want that. As long as I'm here, let me show you how to fix that. Let's go to lists, or pardon me, let's go to company, lists, and go to the user-defined field list. And let's find breaker panel and take it off the asset form. And what was that other one? Labor warranty. So let's go find labor warranty and take it off the asset form. In fact, while we're at it, let's do a new one. And let's call that license renewal. And that'll be a date. So we can use a built-in date masking here and put that in the asset form and click next. And then we'll want to do another one, and that would be last inspection. That would be an internal inspection, not a state inspection, but it could be either one. And again, that's going to be a date, and we'll use the date masking and make that available on the asset form. Click OK. Now, next time you go into the asset form, whoops, wrong one. Now, when we go into the asset form, we will see proper user-defined fields. In fact, as long as I'm in here, let's demonstrate that masking. You saw me pick that. If you're not familiar with it, it takes care of the masking. I'm typing a letter right now, and it's ignoring me. That's because it's expecting a date. So I'll type in 12, and it put in the slash. I'll type in, say, 25. It put in the slash. I'll type in 2020. It took 20. So if I meant a different year, then I need to change that. I could go back and change the masking, but the mask I picked accepted 2 digits, and that's all it would take. But that assures us that we put in the proper format for our dates. Now, again, you can see in the panel here that we have 4 entries. Those are the direct entries. How else can we get mileage in here? We could go to employees, go to timesheet. We'll make sure under preferences that the mileage is selected and the vehicle box is selected. And then that way, whenever you pick an employee and you start to enter a timesheet entry, so we'll pick maybe an earning item, hourly, come over here, to vehicle, it's only going to show us vehicles that are assigned to this employee. And now we have a chance to enter our odometer reading. They can also enter this reading in mobile, in our app. The information can also come automatically from the GPS black box in the vehicle. So as you probably know, we interface with different companies that track vehicles through a so-called black box. Call it black box no matter what the color is. Box that plugs into the vehicle. It sends us data, including, as an option, odometer information, and we will automatically populate the odometer reading into the asset history odometer tab. So the source would end up saying something like Verizon instead of timesheet. That's how the feature works. Now, you can do the same thing for a vehicle or a piece of equipment that does not have an odometer but has an hours meter. So instead of an odometer reading, you could put in the hours, the operating hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, etc. Things like forklifts, mower decks, heavy motor, commercial mower equipment, and many other things, generators. They have hours of operation. You can put those in there. Now remember, as I said, like a generator, let's say that this is a portable generator that you loan out or you rent out, then you would want to say, make it available for lease or rental. You want to check that box. And then you'll have the option of including that on an invoice, and you can start tracking the income. Now you have the ability to track how much you paid for, let's just pretend like it's a generator. How much did you pay for the generator? How much have you paid to maintain it? How many times have you leased it out? How much money has come in? How much money has gone out? You'll have a mini financial statement on an asset. And by the way, it could be a vehicle too. You could be in the vehicle rental business and find Total Office Manager useful because it's going to keep track of what you paid for it, how many times you leased it out, who are the customers that leased it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you want to create reports on that, you would go to the custom data view feature, and there's a video on that as well, so I won't get into it. You might want to go to custom data view, find an asset custom data view, and build a report that meets your needs. As I mentioned earlier, you could actually create a mini financial statement for a company asset. That's one of the advantages of having software that does it all, one program doing everything, true all-in-one, not just a phony bolt-on claiming to be all-in-one, but a program that has full enterprise-level accounting. On top of that, all these other things like the asset manager. It gives you the ability to really understand the dollar inflows and outflows of everything you have and everything you do. Couple last reminders and we'll wrap this short video up. Be sure to keep images, notes. You have a log, a maintenance log right here. Eventually, you'll dispose of the item. You can keep track of that here. You can create full depreciation schedules. So there's a lot more we could do, but there's other videos on that. Our purpose here today was to explain the odometer feature. So that wraps that up. Thank you very much.